Welcome to the Workplace Minute, powered by H3 HR Advisors and sponsored by Paychex, one of the leading providers of HR, payroll, retirement, and software solutions for businesses of all sizes. My name is Steve Boese. Another slumping company decides remote work is to blame. Back in 2022, midway through the pandemic, Salesforce CEO Mark Benioff boldly proclaimed that office mandates are never going to work. At that time, the tech giant was sticking with its work-from-anywhere approach to attract and retain top talent. Now, 2 years later, the company is reconsidering its earlier policy. According to an internal Salesforce memo reviewed by the San Francisco Standard, Salesforce, San Francisco's largest private employer, has made the decision to bring the majority of its employees back into the office, reversing a broad shift to remote work it implemented during the pandemic. Select employees in sales, workplace services, data center engineering, and on-site support under the Office of the CIO will be required to come into the office 4 or even 5 days a week, effective October 1st. All other departments, including marketing, legal, and product teams, will be designated Office Flex, meaning they must come in at least 3 days a week. And the company's other engineering roles are also in this category, although they will only be required to come in for a minimum of 10 days each quarter. Unless working from a client site, the ability to be classified as a fully remote worker will be granted only on an exception basis, according to the new guidelines. Per the memo sent out last week, the guidelines are meant to, quote, better clarify our in-person expectations, end quote. To increase in-person attendance, Salesforce will also roll out an internal dashboard to track data from employee badge scans in the US only starting next month. And I wonder if these badge scans will include scans in or scans out or both. As we've seen scores of reports of so-called coffee badging, the practice of employees showing up in person to the office, scanning their badge to log their presence on site, and then leaving for home soon after. Often just about enough time to have a coffee in the office. Additionally, the memo indicated that employees will have full visibility of all the scanning data, which will measure attendance against quarterly goals set by each team. Curiously, the dashboard will also track the average amount of voluntary time off that employees are taking, which is time they can use for community service efforts. Salesforce has always been a hybrid work company, a company spokesperson said in a statement. Our guidelines focus on in-person connection while also recognizing the value of working away from the office. This sudden push for employees to return to the office comes as Salesforce cut around 300 roles this month, according to Bloomberg reporting. This is in addition to the 700 people laid off earlier this year. And last year, the software company cut around 10% of its positions, about 7,000 employees. Additionally, the company has been fighting back against the push by some activist investors to prioritize profits and cut costs amid slumping stock growth, although more recently these efforts have receded. During the pandemic shutdown, Salesforce joined a string of large tech firms in San Francisco in reducing its in-person presence at its downtown office due to the shifts to remote work. And as a result, the city has the highest office vacancy rate in the nation at 37%. According to the real estate firm CBRE. But with these new mandates, Salesforce employees will be returning to significantly less office space available per person than they were accustomed to in the past. Last year, Securities and Exchange Commission filings revealed that the company had cut 45% of its office square footage, which included leaving a tower known as Salesforce East on Mission Street in San Francisco. Other tech firms in San Francisco have been doing the same. The social platform X is marketing most of its mid-market headquarters for sublease after thousands of employees were laid off last year, and half of Uber's headquarters are being subleased to a company called OpenAI, famous for ChatGPT, and a chunk of Airbnb's campus went to another AI company, Scaling HI. Salesforce's call for its employees to return to in-person working during a time of financial struggles, a series of headcount reductions, depressed stock prices, and looming activist investor pressure make the policy change seem like executives think remote working is to blame for at least some of the company's problems. Remote work has become a convenient scapegoat for some organizations, who often talk about culture or collaboration or connection as the drivers of increased in-person working requirements. These are all difficult to measure, as well as the effects on them from remote working. For companies rescinding remote working policies when times get tough is not a recent or a new trend. 10 years ago, it was happening at companies like Yahoo and IBM, proving that not revoking remote work solves a company's problems, but rather that CEOs like to tap into the same old playbooks, even if they have no real data to back up their decisions. Good luck to the employees at Salesforce, many of whom will probably start looking for new, more flexible jobs beginning this October. We'll continue to cover these important topics and trends in the world of work here on the HR Happy Hour Media Network. That's it for the Workplace Minute, powered by H3 HR Advisors.